Welcome to Biology, the scientific study of life, soil conservation and sustainable agriculture. It may take centuries for a soil to become fertile through the breakdown of rock and the accumulation of organic material, but human mismanagement can destroy that fertility within a few years. Soil mismanagement has been a requiring problem in human history. For example, the Dust Bowl has an ecological and human disaster that took place in the southwestern Great Plains region of the United States in the 1930s. Before the arrival of farmers, the region was covered by hardy grasses that held the soil in place in spite of the long recurrent droughts and torrential rains characteristic of the region. However, in the late 18 and early 19, many homesteaders settled in the region, planting wheat and raising cattle. This land uses left the topsoil exposed to erosion by winds that often sweep over the area. A bad luck in the form of a few years of drought made the problem worse. Much of the topsoils was blown away, rendering millions of hectares of farmland useless and forcing hundreds of thousands of people to abandon homes and land. A blight immortalized in John Steinbeck's The Grapes of Wrath. Better soil conservation practice could have preserved soil fertility and sustained agricultural productivity. To understand soil conservation, we must first remember that agriculture can only be sustained by human intervention in forests, grasslands, and other natural ecosystems. Mineral nutrients are usually recycled by the decomposition of dead organic material in the soil. In contrast, when farmers harvest a crop, essential elements are diverted from the chemical cycles going on the location. In general, agriculture depletes the mineral content of the soil. To grow 1000 kg of wheat grain, the soil gives up 20 kg of nitrogen, 4 kg of phosphorus, and 4.5 kg of potassium each year. The soil fertility diminishes unless fertilizers replace lost minerals such as nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Many crops also use far more water than the vegetation than once grow naturally on that land, forcing farmers to irrigate prudent fertilization, thoughtful irrigation, and the prevention of erosion are three of the most important goals of soil conservation. Complementing soil conservation is soil reclamation, the goal of returning agricultural productivity to exhausted or damaged soil. More than 30% of the world's farmland suffers from low productivity stemming from poor soil conditions such as chemical contamination, mineral deficiencies, acidity, salinity, and poor drainage. Fertilizers. Prehistoric farmers may have started fertilizing their fields after noticing that grass grew faster and greener where animals had defecated. In developed nations today, most farmers use commercially produced fertilizers containing minerals that are either mined or prepared by industrial process. These fertilizers are usually enriched in nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, the macronutrients most commonly deficient in farm and garden soils. Fertilizers are labeled with the three-number code called the NPK ratio, indicating the content of these minerals. A fertilizer marked 15-10-5, for instance, is 15% nitrogen as ammonium or nitrate, 10% phosphorus as phosphoric acid, and 5 potassium as a mineral potash. Um, Mono, fish meal, and composite are called organic fertilizers because they are of biological origin and contain decomposing organic material. Before plants can use organic material, however, it must be decomposed into the inorganic nutrients that roots can absorb, whether from organic fertilizer or a chemical factory. The minerals a plant extracts are in the same form, but organic fertilizers released minerals gradually, whereas minerals um, commercial fertilizers are immediately available but may not be retained by the soil for long. Excess minerals not absorbed by roots are usually wasted because they are often leached from the soil by rainwater or irrigation. To make matters worse, mineral runoff may pollute groundwater, streams, and lakes. Agricultural researchers are developing ways to maintain crop yields while reducing fertilizer use. One approach is to genetically engineer smart plants that inform the grower when a nutrient deficiency is imminent, but before damage has occurred, as shown in this video. Not the differences. Um, One type of smart plant takes advantage of a promoter, a DNA sequence that indicates where to begin a transcription. That more readily binds RNA polymerase, the enzyme that drives transcription. When the phosphorus content of plant tissues begins to decline, this promoter is linked to a reporter gene that leads to the production of a blue pigment in the leaf cells. When leaves of these smart plants develop a blue tinge, the farmer knows it is time to add phosphate containing fertilizer. To fertilize Georgia or Georgia Shisley, Georgia Shisley, to fertilize Georgia Shisley, a farmer must note the soil pH because it affects cation exchange and the chemical form of minerals. Although an essential element may be abundant, plants may be starving for that element because it is bound too tightly to clay particles or is in a chemical form the plant cannot absorb. Managing soil pH is tricky. A change in H positive concentration may make one mineral more available but make another less available. At pH 8, for instance, that plant can absorb calcium but iron is almost completely unavailable. The soil pH should be matched to a crop's mineral needs. If the soil is too alkaline, adding sulfate will lower the pH. Soil that is too acidic can be adjusted by liming, adding calcium carbonate or calcium hydroxide. A major problem with acidic soils, particularly in tropical areas, is that aluminum dissolves at low pH and becomes toxic to roots. Some plants copy with high aluminum levels by secreting organic anions that bind the aluminum and render it harmless. Irrigation. Water is most often the limiting factor in plant growth. Irrigation can transform a desert into a garden, but farming in arid regions is a huge drain on water resources. Many rivers in the southwestern United States have been reduced to trickles by diversion of water for irrigation. Another problem is that irrigation in an arid region can gradually make the soil so salty that it may become completely infertile. Salts dissolved in irrigation water accumulate in the soil as the water evaporates, making the water potential of the soil solution more negative, thereby reducing water uptake by lowering the water potential gradients from soil to roots. As the world population grows, more and more acres of arid land are being cultivated. New irrigation methods may reduce the risks of running out of water or losing farmland to salinization, or which means salt accumulation. Drip irrigation is used for many crops in the western United States, resulting in less evaporation. In another approach, plant breeders are developing plant varieties that require less water. Erosion. Topsoil from thousands of acres or farmland is lost to water and wind erosion each year in the United States alone. Certain precautions, such as planting rows of trees as windbreaks, terracing hillside crops, and cultivating in a contour, as shown this figure, contour pattern, can prevent loss of topsoil. Crops such as alfalfa and wheat provide good ground cover and protect the soil better than maize and other crops that are usually planted in more widely spaced rows. If managed properly, soil is a renewable resource in which farmers can grow food for many generations. The goal of soil management is sustainable agriculture in commitment, embracing a variety of farming methods that are conservation minded, environmentally safe, and profitable. Soil reclamation. Some areas are unfit for agriculture because of contamination of soil or groundwater with toxic heavy metals or organic pollutants. Traditionally, soil reclamation has focused on non-biological technologies such as removal and storage of contaminated soil in landfills, but these techniques are very costly and often disrupt the landscape. A new method known as phytoremediation. Phytoremediation is a biological non-destructive technology that seeks to reclaim contaminated areas cheaply by using the remarkable ability of some plants to extract soil pollutants and concentrate them in portions of the plant that can be easily removed for safe disposal. For example, alpine Binicres can accumulate zinc in its shoots at concentration 300 times higher than most plants can tolerate. Such plants show promise for cleaning up areas contaminated by smelters, mining operations, or nuclear testing. Photo or phyto